When you deploy WSUS, there are some different configurations you can choose from. One is a single server. If I have just one location, I could have a single WSUS. With that, my WSUS just connects to Microsoft. Then clients connect to the WSUS and they download their updates from the WSUS. So you just have one WSUS server in your environment. You could even have another location. So we'll say this is in New York City. And we'll say this is in Seattle. Well, let's say in Seattle, you only have 30 computers. So it's a very small branch office, but over time you expect the office to grow. Well, you may decide you want these 30 computers in Seattle to connect across the WAN link to your server here in New York City and download updates from that WSUS. Totally feasible solution. But this office in Seattle grows and grows. So much so, you decide, I don't want all the clients in Seattle to continue to cross a WAN link. I want to put a WSUS server in Seattle. If that's true, we can just have a multi-server deployment. With that, you put your WSUS in Seattle as well, and you have your WSUS here in New York City. We can have these configured in a parent-child relationship. Many places call this parent-child. You will also see the term upstream and downstream. Actually, in the interface, Microsoft uses both terms, parent-child and upstream-downstream. But in this scenario, the WSUS server that connects to Microsoft is going to be the parent or upstream. The WSUS in your branch office is going to be the child or downstream. Now, the overall goal of this, if you work in New York City, you connect to the WSUS server in New York City. If you work in Seattle, your computer connects to the WSUS in Seattle. So I want each update from Microsoft to be downloaded from Microsoft to the WSUS in New York City one time for each update. I want that update to be then transferred to the WSUS in Seattle one time across the WAN, and users will connect to the WSUS in their respective office. That's the overall goal. That brings up the question, how do you manage the process though? You have two options for this downstream-upstream hierarchy, autonomous mode or replica. In autonomous mode, all that means no updates are ever approved on the WSUS in Seattle, not automatically. So in autonomous mode, you have to have some admin in Seattle go approve updates. Now, there are scenarios you want exactly that. Well, let's say we have our own IT department. Not IT department. We have our own administrators in Seattle, and they are responsible for all aspects of IT in Seattle. They want to test their own updates. They want to do everything. If that's the case, then my WSUS servers run in autonomous mode. All that means, though, you still, if you're in Seattle, you transfer your updates and download them from the WSUS in New York. But then administrators in Seattle go through and decide what updates they want to deploy to computers in Seattle. The other option is a replica. With a replica mode, you no longer manage update approvals in Seattle. What happens is you go to the WSUS in New York and you say, I want to approve this update and this update, and I'm not going to approve this update. What happens is your downstream or child WSUS in Seattle actually mirrors that approval list. So you approve an update in New York, it's approved when it gets down to Seattle. It stays in that approved state and automatically starts installing. So now no one in Seattle has to go through and worry about approving or declining updates or anything like that. Truly becomes like a distribution point. Now, when you configure WSUS, it will directly ask you if you want to be a replica or if you want to run in this autonomous mode, which in the interface they will call a non-replica. So either you're a replica or you're not. I just mentioned the database earlier, but it's also a question during the install. Are you using the Windows internal database local to each server, Or do you intend to use an existing SQL database that you already have deployed in your environment? So, depending on your option, depends on what you choose. You could never say database wise one is better than the other. You could never say for the WSUS hierarchy, autonomous or replica, you can never say one is better than the other. It depends on exactly what your scenario is as to which is most appropriate. So, really, both of those are design issues.